Recently, there's been a fiery debate on Threads on whether authors can or should post negative reviews about books. Yes, I'm one of the few hundred people who actually uses Threads regularly, and I will say there actually is a really active writing community on there, though with every writing community in 2025, there's definitely a ton of drama. But if you find your niche there, it is an awesome place to talk about books and writing and all sorts of things. It's a really fun place to review books too, although apparently as an author, I shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, this is definitely a topic I want to talk about because, let's face it, I've shit on a fair amount of books in the past, and the chances are I will probably do it again in the future. This idea that writers should stay out of reader space is one that's definitely growing in recent years, or at least the dialogue of it is. The argument pretty much is, as an author, you should avoid being critical or mean when it comes to talking about other authors' works because it comes off as unprofessional, and also it can burn bridges with colleagues down the line. I'm using air quotes when I say the word colleagues, so I find it really strange to refer to all authors who have published a book once you've published a book as your colleagues. I think community is definitely a better word. I think colleagues should only be reserved to the specific few authors that I actually do work with closely, and the people who, of course, beta read my book, my editors, that type of thing. People I'm actually actively working with. As an indie game developer, I don't call all my fellow indie game developers colleagues. That's just not a thing. Now, some people on Threads actually go as far to say as you should not review books at all if you're an author because you can be biased by other authors, and I'm not even going to get into this point. In fact, I feel like by being more honest with your reviews, you come off as more genuine, and that takes away the issue of being biased in terms of readers and the way people think of you. But going back to the main argument, I will admit there are some valid points. If I market my book by punching down at other people's books, I'm gonna look like a complete asshole, and also in general, you should never market a book by criticizing other people's works. It doesn't look good, and it's just not an effective marketing strategy. Also, it makes you an overconfident asshole. I can also see how bridges would be burned. If I ever started a podcast where I interviewed other authors, I don't think that's something I ever would do, but I'd be definitely open to going on more podcasts, especially once I actually have a book to talk about. But say I started a podcast after shitting on Icebreaker in that video where I shot pucks at it, there's a good chance that Hannah Grace would never want to come on that podcast. I mean, why would she? I was not very nice to that book. Also, I just filmed the part 2 of the Blackout Reads video where I read the second half of Icebreaker, and oh man, I don't even know what to say about that book, but let's focus on the point at hand. Obviously, if you're mean about a book or you shoot pucks at it outside, there's a good chance that if you ever come in contact with that author, it's going to be really awkward. So does that mean my career as an author is over now because I already posted that video online? Well, I don't think so. Now, while I do feel like these 2 points about the potential ramifications of talking negatively about books online are worth considering, I don't think it's reason enough to mean that you cannot say anything negative about a book online. In fact, I think there are plenty of reasons why this can actually be a good thing. In fact, I actually think the idea that authors can't criticize other authors is quite problematic. For starters, I've never truly understood the argument that authors don't belong in reader spaces, because just because you become an author doesn't mean you're not still a reader. Those are not mutually exclusive. What, just because I'm a sci-fi writer means I can no longer criticize Star Wars when the next movie inevitably ruins my faith in the franchise? No, writing sci-fi doesn't mean I can't still be a fan of sci-fi, and it doesn't mean I can't be vocal about my opinions as a sci-fi fan. I've seen several posts on Threads where authors talk about deleting all the negative reviews on Goodreads once they publish a book, and that is completely, utterly insane. Your opinion of that book you did not like is just as valid after you publish your own book as it was before you publish a book. What? And for the record, it really felt like there were several authors who would not share their opinions about a book if they did not absolutely love it because they were scared of criticism and they did not want to get in trouble for having an opinion. It really feels like some authors are afraid to criticize or even review books out of fear, and that just doesn't sound right. Some of the people who were saying that authors don't belong in reader spaces were talking about consequences and how they could track you down and see what bad things you said about books from your Goodreads. And to me, those are the people who sound like the problem, not authors giving genuine opinions about books. This reality that there is a hive mind of people in the reading and writing community, and they make a small portion of the community, although I'll admit they are very loud, who will kick you out because you say you don't like a book or something like that, is the problem. The people threatening that you can get review bombed if you talk truthfully about a book you did not like are the problem. Now, if stuff like this makes you hesitate to say something negative about a book in the future, I don't blame you. I see where you're coming from. But let me explain to you why I'm going to continue to do what I do on my platforms. A lot of authors talking about how authors should not share opinions on books are kind of missing the plot. For me, reviewing a book has never been about making a relationship with the author or even providing them a service. It's not about the author. For the record, book reviews and ratings are for the readers to make educated choices on what books they purchase next. While a good book review can definitely help you market your book, you're not entitled to good book reviews just for writing a book. This is getting slightly off topic, but I do think it's relevant. Recently, I've been seeing a couple posts where people are saying you should avoid leaving bad book reviews on books because you can hurt the author financially. If you buy a book and you feel disappointed by the content that you purchased, then you are 100% entitled to write a book review that reflects your disappointment. You should never feel guilty about writing a bad book review. If you did not like the book, then you are just saying how you felt about a product that you spent money on and you were disappointed by. If that hurts the author's feelings, well then tough shit. Their book hurt my wallet's feelings. Now I will emphasize here, because this is important to note, never tag the author on a bad book review. I only ever tag authors when my book reviews are positive. I want to help people find that author so they can get that book. When my book is finally out, I will never get mad at anyone, even an author, if they voice a negative opinion about my book. In fact, if they don't like my book, I encourage them to say why they don't like it, so that more people who are going to be disappointed don't buy it too. Yeah, that definitely sucks to say out loud, but the last thing I want to do is disappoint as many people as possible with my book. That sounds like a worst case scenario, even if I would make more money disappointing more people. In fact, if my book ever does get really popular and there are groups of people who really don't like it, I encourage them to make videos criticizing it. Perhaps you could even do a cringe drinking video. And sure, seeing somebody say something negative about my book would hurt. It feels like my book is a part of me. But in reality, my book is a product, and consumers have the right to critique my product so other consumers can make more educated purchases. As somebody who is in the writing and reading community, I also think there is a lot of value to a bad review. First of all, as a book reviewer, it builds credibility between you and your audience. If I gave every single book I talk about on this channel, and in general, a 10 out of 10, 5 stars, best book I ever read, at some point, you're no longer going to believe me, especially once you read that book and you don't feel like it's the best book you've ever read. In my opinion, as a book reviewer, when you hand out 10 out of 10 reviews like candy, the books that actually stand out and who deserve more attention because they are stellar no longer stand out when you talk about them. That's why for my indie book review series, even though I give most of those books 5 stars, because for the most part, I really enjoy all the books I talk about in that series, for the actual videos, I have a 1 out of 10 system that is very critical just because it really allows me to differentiate between the books, because it just means more for the audience. And when somebody does hit a 9 or a 10 on that scale, where I almost never give a 9 or 10, it really stands out and helps that author a lot more than if I gave every single author a 10 out of 10. Although, let's be real, the series that's controversial on this channel is not the indie book review series, it's the Blackout Read series, where I drink copious amounts of alcohol while reading really cringe book talk books. I would argue there's a lot of positive that comes out of that series as well. For starters, those videos are really entertaining, and in general, I think it's really good to make more entertaining content about books, especially in a day where less and less people are reading. Now, I'm pretty transparent. I poke a lot of fun at and I say mean things about the books I feature on that series. I mean, just how many times have I made fun of Icebreaker in this video? Also note that I'm making fun of Icebreaker and not Fourth Wing because I actually found Fourth Wing to be fun, even though it was also pretty messy. But it still goes to show, first of all, that my criticism, it's not just me being mean. It is me actively reading these books and giving my opinion. And at least personally, I feel like that honesty does a lot of good for this community. First of all, it brings more people to the channel who will eventually check out the indie book review series, which I really hope gets more views because that series is really aimed at helping supporting indie authors. Second of all, while I am making fun of those books, some people will hear what I have to say and realize it might be a book that might be fun for them. I assure you, the people who watch those videos are not all haters. There are several people who really enjoy those books and kind of like watching somebody kind of explore a genre that is way outside their niche. And 3, to play these drinking games, I need a copy of the book, so I am purchasing these books. And in addition, anybody else who wants to play that drinking game that I publish for everyone also needs a copy of the book to play, so it really doesn't hurt anyone involved. Enough of me defending my series. In general, I think more content on books is a good thing, even if that is critical reviews by people who also write books. I've really noticed on my author social media pages, by being honest about what books I like and what I don't, and what I'm really looking for in a book, and what disappoints me in a book, I really find more people who connect with my ideas of what is a good book. And that's really important as an author because I'm writing a book that I would want to read. So the type of readers I want to attract are people who have similar opinions on books that I do. So by sharing those opinions, it helps me find those people for my audience. Readers also know when I rave about a book, I'm not just being nice. I mean it. Now, there's one more important note I want to address on why it's important that authors do talk about books that they do not like. There are plenty of books out there that have problematic themes or that handle content in a way that is not ideal. And it's important, I think, for authors when they notice that to kind of call it out. Authors should feel comfortable speaking about books and what they do and don't like about them. When I finally publish my book, I'm not going to delete my Blackout Read series and also change all my content because now I'm an author, there's a different set of rules. That's not the case. There are no rules. That's one of the reasons why I became an indie author, to do this my own way. Now, if you are going the traditional route and the publishing house that you want to publish with does have rules, make sure you follow those rules. But beyond that, you don't have to do anything just because some people on the internet say you have to. I think it's really time that creators in the writing community stop telling other creators what they can and can't post. I think what really made this topic popular is recently a couple of pretty popular book reviewers have decided they want to take a shot and write their own book. And a couple authors tried to make them feel unwelcome in the community, as if they can't review books if they want to write one. And I completely disagree with that. If a book reviewer who is obviously super passionate about reviewing books wants to try to write their own book, I don't think they have to delete their whole platform just so they can become an author. That's kind of ridiculous. Listen, I know there are going to be comments where people call my platform unprofessional and say, oh, now I'm never going to read anything you write because clearly you don't know what you're talking about. And to that I say, whatever. Look, as an author, you are never ever going to please everyone, so why bother trying? If you're an author and you like to review books, go for it. If people don't like that, that's their problem, not yours. Those are my thoughts on this issue. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you haven't already, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your work in progress.